Hello and welcome back to the Procrastination Podcast with your host Emma, the perfect podcast for anyone who is an intermediate and above level of English and they just want to listen to some authentic English, like we're two friends in a pub just chatting about life. It's been quite a while since I did my last podcast episode. I'm still kind of treating this podcast like a hobby, like just something I do when I finally have the free time to do it, instead of thinking, oh, this podcast is actually listened to by thousands of people. And people are messaging me waiting for the next episode. So my last episode was about, oh my God, what was it about? It was about ghost stories. That was it. Like, one of the biggest requests I had was for more ghost stories. And people were even saying, like, just like invent the ghost stories. We just want to hear you tell more ghost stories. So if you are interested in ghost stories, go and listen to that. I've also received, I'm just double checking here, but I've also received so many emails from you guys with different topic. Oh my God, there's more. I can't keep up. I've got so many different email inboxes that I just get so overwhelmed. But some people have given some really interesting topics. And one of the topics that someone has recommended, who is it? Max. Okay, Max. They wanted to talk a little bit about AI, chat GPT and stuff like that. And I wanted to kind of do an episode where I talked about my experience of going to IATEFL, which was a really, really big overwhelming experience, and answering Max's question here about chat GPT, AI, and all things technology based. I've just realized I forgot the program. I can show you guys. Actually, this is the, where are you? Oh, it's up here. I thought the camera was up here. No, it's down here. So you can see this is the program from the IATEFL conference that I was given. If you're not sure what IATEFL is, I can't even remember what it stands for. I think it's the International Association of Teaching English as a Foreign Language. But cancel me if I'm wrong, that's okay. And essentially it's this huge conference that features loads of talks. Like, I wanted to have a look, actually, to see how many talks were on every hour, because it's mental. There's like 10 talks an hour or something. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So there's like 17 on at once. Oh my God, there's more on the other times as well. So yeah, they have like these various time slots for these talks. And yeah, there are like 15 different talks happening at the same time. So if there are 2 talks that you find interesting, you might think, well, I'll just go to half of this one and half to that one. Or like you'll see some people joining halfway through or leaving halfway through. But I would say the majority of people just choose one and then they just stick to that talk. And I didn't really have any choice in the talks that I could go to. And there were some really, really interesting talks. I ought to give a bit of context. Like, when I was at... Oh, by the way, I've also got allergies. Let me just sniff. When I was doing my master's degree, I was focusing on the teaching and development of pragmatics in English language learners. So if you don't know what pragmatics means, essentially, it is the underlying meaning of something. So you've got the actual words that you say, but then you've possibly got the connotations or like the underlying meaning, something that is being said that is not actually being said with the words. A really good example of this is how English people say, oh yeah, that film was interesting. Now, an English learner may think, oh, interesting, they thought it was interesting, that's a positive thing. But the way that I said it then, oh yeah, the film was interesting. Many people with a more developed level of pragmatic awareness might think, oh, actually, she didn't think it was that good. So that's what pragmatics is. It's that underlying, secret, hidden meaning in what someone's saying, not the literal meaning. And I saw that there was some talks about that, and I was like, oh, that looks so cool. I really want to go to that because I'm such a nerd about pragmatics. I used to hate pragmatics, but when I realized it was such an under-researched area and something that teachers don't actually really teach about, because it is quite a tricky thing to teach because there are just no materials for it out there. So how can you teach if you don't have the materials there to even guide you and help you, right? And I just kind of got into this topic a little bit, not like to a sad level, just like, oh yeah, it's quite interesting. So whenever I see talks about it, I'm like, oh, I need to go to that. And then there were quite a few on pronunciation. So of course, I really enjoy focusing on pronunciation. I think my channel would have died a very quick death if I'd named it Pragmatics with Emma and I focused only on pragmatics. But pronunciation is another love of mine, like they're both interests of mine. I would say pronunciation is more the husband, and pragmatics is the occasional lover that I keep going back to. But yeah, they had some really interesting talks about pronunciation. So I was like, oh, I wish I could have gone to that. And yeah, there are people who are YouTubers, TikTokers, influencers, let's say, doing talks at these events, at these IATEFL conferences. There are researchers, there are teachers. I was going to say like just teachers, but what I mean by just teachers is they maybe only teach, like they don't do research, they don't do Instagram, they don't do anything else. They just focus on teaching in a school. Oh my God, there's a hair in my coffee. One of Freya's hairs. And yeah, I found it quite interesting that there was such a different mix of people. Like, you come across people who are like TikTokers or Instagram teachers or YouTubers, and then you've got the people who are on the, what I would say, like the other end of the scale, where they are academic and they've been in academics all their life. And there were some researchers that I talked to, and I just assumed that they were teachers because it is a teaching conference, right? It's not dumb of me to assume that, but anyway, I did. And one or two of them did say like, oh no, I don't teach. I've never taught in my life. And I was just so, I'm not sure. Taken aback is probably the best way to describe it. But yeah, I was quite taken aback like that they were doing this research, yet they never stepped foot in a classroom and been a teacher. And I was really surprised at that. But anyway, it was interesting. And I ended up going there. Like, a lot of you guys were like, why are you at IATEFL? Why are you posting on YouTube? Blah, blah, blah. And that's because I was sent basically last minute. Like, I was told about a week or two. It must have been 2 weeks before. Oh, Emma, do you fancy going to IATEFL to cover the social media stuff for the British Council? Okay, so I won't go into like all of that because it's a bit boring. It's just like work stuff. I don't think you guys will find it interesting. It's not boring for me, but I mean, you guys might find it boring. But yeah, I work for a company that help do the social media marketing, and I do the copywriting. So I do writing. My boss has now got me editing, and he knows, if he's listening to this, he knows I don't like it. But it's a skill that I have, so I may as well utilize it. Otherwise, it's just sitting there being used on YouTube videos. And yeah, my boss basically said, look, the British Council needs someone to go help out their social media team. Do you want to go? Are you free? And I thought, I've not left Spain since I first came here like over a year ago. Yeah, why not? And because it was also in Harrogate, it's up in Yorkshire where my parents live. So my parents weren't too far away. I mean, it was still like an hour or two by train away. It was still quite far. But I managed to see my mum and my dad, who I haven't seen in over a year. Well, my dad I saw near Christmas time, but my mum I haven't seen. And that was really nice, getting to see them, even if it was just for a short period of time. But yeah, I was happy to go. And when they said social media team, like how about the team, I thought there would be like a big team. But no, it was just 3 of us, 2 guys from the British Council and me, the agency worker. And yeah, we worked together to interview people. So I was doing interviews with, oh my God, all sorts of people, like teachers, for one, of course, but also ministers of education in different countries, politicians, like not members of parliament, but like people who work in education and politics and stuff in different countries. So it was so surreal being in this little TEFL bubble, in this little English teaching bubble, this like little world, just being able to talk to and mingle with so many different people from so many different backgrounds, and in a place where I would never have been able to meet a lot of these researchers and different speakers and people and stuff. But this conference just brings people together, and you end up meeting a very, very varied bunch of people. So some of the talks that I did go to, as I said, I couldn't choose the talks that I wanted to go to. But let me see. I'm trying to choose some that are maybe a little bit easier to summarize, because some of them were very, very researchy, very academic, and I think it's quite hard to summarize what they were about, because there was so much. I mean, the whole event itself, let me grab another book that I have here. Another book I stole. Oh, I've just seen these fly out as well. Oh, look, I got these. Where's the camera? I'm lost. You see? Oh, maybe it's not focusing. Ah. So I had those pictures taken. Oh my God, Freya's toys are everywhere. More IELTS stuff. So yeah, I managed to steal, I asked for permission, of course, but I managed to steal the Future of English Golden Perspectives, no, the Global Perspective, the research summary. So the whole event this time at Harrogate for IATEFL was about the launch of this book called The Future of English. I don't remember who wrote it. I remember their first names, but I don't remember their last names. Remember it was Mike, Steve, and Mina, but I don't remember their names. Does it not say on here? Surely it says the names on the actual summary. That would be really strange if not. Oh, they're here. Meena Patel, Mike Solly, and Steve Copeland. So yes, it was written by these 3. And essentially 15 years ago, oh my God, my memory of everything is so bad, but 15 years ago there was a researcher or a teacher or someone. Who was it? Okay, here it is. In 1997, the British Council published The Future of English, followed in 2006 by English Next, both written by David Graddall. Okay, that name rings a bell. I remember this name. In English Next, Graddall identified 14 trends which he felt represented the direction of travel for English over the following 15 years. The latter, in particular, was a seminal... Oh, it's just getting into other stuff. Okay, well, I won't go into that. It's boring. If you're interested, you can actually read the book for free. You can get your own copy, like a free copy. online, like as a digital version. But yeah, essentially they talk about these questions. Was it 14 questions? I thought they had more questions in their book. I think they added some more. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I wasn't paying that much attention. No, I'm sure they had some more questions that they were asking in the book. Like, it wasn't just those 14. But yeah, I could be wrong there. Anyway, if you're interested, you can go download it completely for free. I recommend it for anyone who's doing a PhD in English, who's an English teacher, who's just interested in this. Perhaps not so much for students, because it is talking about teaching English rather than learning English. Though some of the questions, thinking about it, some of the questions are related to topics that I think learners could definitely think about. Like, I don't know if I still have the questions anywhere. No. If I look, the future of English, British Council questions? Because there was a questionnaire that people could do, like on the stand when I was there, but I don't know. But I don't think they have the questions there anymore. Oh no, here are some. Oh, they only have 8 here. That's strange. Anyway, so some of the questions, for example, what role will English play in our multilingual reality? What is the future of English as a medium of education? Can technology narrow the equity gap in English? Sorry, I was reading. I thought I said equality gap, but no, it's equity gap. In English language education. Public and private English language provision. Who has the answers? Dun dun dun. Sounds really dramatic. I love it when like academics come up with like really dramatic sounding questions. I remember because like when I was doing my master's degree, I would read some interesting papers like English grammar, is it real? Like just stuff like that. Like they would make great YouTube videos. They really would. But yeah. Anyway, I've completely lost my train of thought. I was talking about these questions. And yeah, that was it. Yes, that was it. Yeah. So I was talking about the book. The whole event was based around the book. The book essentially asked some questions. And yeah, I was a bit confused because I thought that the book was going to answer the questions that David Graddol had asked 15 years ago. Was it David Graddol? Yes, it was. That David Graddol had asked 15 years ago in his books. But actually, the whole thing is kind of like, it just opens more questions, you know? That's like the nature of the whole thing. So it was interesting. And I don't mean interesting in it was shit. Like, I mean interesting as in, like, oh, these are things I've never genuinely thought about before. Like, yeah, what role does English play in a multilingual reality and stuff? I can't remember the actual questions. I'm surprised they're not in the summary. Like, they should be in the summary. Surely the questions are here. That's so weird. But never mind. They are in the book. And I would download a book, like a copy of the book to go through, but you have to put in like loads of personal information, and I'm not gonna sell my information to the British Council. It's fine. Not today, British Council, not today. But no, you can go and download it for free. I'm just joking. I'm just being too lazy to go and download it, even though it's literally right here and it says download your free copy, but you need to put in details and stuff. I can't be bothered. So some other talks I went to, let's have a look. So I was there for 5 days. right? So Monday to Friday. Monday, I had just arrived. My flight was in the morning, and then I got there about sort of 4 o'clock. I think I was at the IATEFL place at 4 o'clock, and it was absolute chaos because they were setting everything up, and it was like under construction and everything. And then the next day was work day. Like I was actually doing interviews and going to talks and things. Let me see. Yep. The teacher's role in increasing automated online education. Oh, I didn't get to go to that one. Let's see. I went to an IELTS talk. I went to a few different talks, but I don't remember. I really don't remember them at all. That's so strange. But I do remember the IELTS talk because I also do some writing for IELTS social media, and this talk, I was made to go to this talk, okay, because it was IELTS related, and I was essentially going to collect any content that was going to be useful for writing, and this specific talk was about dealing with tables in the IELTS exam. Now, I haven't taught IELTS for, I don't know, about a year or two now. It's been a while since I've taught anyone and prepared anyone for the IELTS academic exam. I've never prepared anyone for the IELTS general exam. It's always been IELTS academic. And this talk was about dealing with tables and how to make them less intimidating for students. And as a teacher myself, I thought, oh, that's actually genuinely interesting. The other ones were quite, quite theoretical, let's say. But theoretical in the sense that, how can I word it? Like, you couldn't really take what they were talking about and put it in the classroom. They were topics that were good to think about. They were topics that were good to consider, but they weren't something practical that you could actually bring into your own classroom. While this IELTS talk, you could actually bring stuff into the classroom. It was genuinely quite interesting, despite it being quite late during the day. It was like 20 past... Oh, it's got 20 past 6 here. Oh no, it's UK time though, so 20 past 5. So despite it being, towards the end of the day, it was very tiring. And then there was the Future of English launch event. So they were launching the book there. And then the next day, I think I mostly had interviews. I didn't get to go to many of the talks on Wednesday and Thursday. Remember I said we had a team of 3. So we kind of broke off into two different groups. So me and one of the other team members, we went off to do interviews. So we were arranging interviews and talking to different presenters or different people from different delegations. So we managed to talk to the delegation from Nepal, the delegation from Turkey, the delegation from where else? From Ukraine, but I think that was on Thursday, was Ukraine. But anyway, India, Pakistan as well. But India and Pakistan, they were MA scholar students. So they'd received a scholarship in order to study for a master's degree. And they were invited to the IATEFL conference, and I interviewed them, and they were so sweet, so nice, and so shy on camera as well, bless them. But yeah, they were really, really nice to interview, and loads of other people as well, and interviewed people from all over. I'm trying to think. Yeah, Ukraine, Cuba, Turkey, Nepal. Oh... trying to think where else. Oh, there were others. I don't remember, but yeah, from interview people from all over. And then on Thursday, again, didn't get to go to many of the talks, but we did go to, when was it? I think it was on Wednesday, actually. Oh, no. There were 2 talks that I managed to go to, which weren't on my list here, but they were just really interesting, and I was given permission to go to them, because it's like, well, we don't need 2 people at this talk. You may as well go to this and get some ideas for other content, collect some evergreen content ideas. So I went to one talk about AI and using what are they called, the glasses with AI, oh my god, I can't remember what they're called. You know what I mean. It's the glasses that you wear, and it's like a screen inside them, and you can go into like other worlds and things like that and play games while looking at the screen through your glasses. So you're not looking at like a TV or a monitor when you're playing your game. You have some control. Is it Oculus? Oculus VR. That's it. Yeah. So a VR set, basically. A virtual reality set. And you get these glasses, and you get these kind of controllers. Okay, I don't know how to explain the controllers, but you basically hold on to it like this, and then you control like how you move and things. So you hold on to this. You don't move yourself. There are some games where you can, but you need sensors. But in a lot of games and things, you can just stay still and just hold this and then move. So you use the controller to do that. And you wear the goggles so you can see the game. And this talk was all about using AI, like AI worlds, to teach English. And it was a really interesting talk, really, really interesting. And it was interesting because when I was doing my master's degree, not many people know this, but I actually wrote a full paper all about how to teach English. I think it was how to teach pragmatic competence, right? It was for my pragmatics module. How to teach pragmatic competence to nurses using Second Life and using virtual reality. Now, I didn't focus that much on virtual reality at the time because this was nearly 10 years ago, and virtual reality was something really, really, really new, and not super common and not very researched, if researched at all. But I looked at using Second Life, and Second Life is, think of it as being like a multiplayer version of The Sims. So it's kind of like The Sims. You have a character, a person, and like a human, and you can go around and talk to other people, and you can create places. You can buy things in this game. I don't think it's very common anymore. I would be surprised if it is still on the go. Oh, it is still going. Oh, it looks so creepy. They've got like some furries things. Yeah, it's still going in Second Life. So I was researching into, I mean, it wasn't like a big research project or anything because it was just a short paper for class, but I was researching how to incorporate Second Life into helping people learn English and helping them develop their pragmatic competence. And there really wasn't a lot of research at the time. I remember that there was only one study that I do remember where they actually focused on teaching using Second Life, and they were able to build like a fake building. I can't remember what it was that they were doing, but let's imagine for nurses, like they built like a fake hospital in the game, and they would have the students come in to the game as characters, like create their characters and everything. So they would be in the game, and role playing in the hospital. So they could pretend that they were in the hospital without actually being in a hospital, which is great if you cannot access that. Perhaps you can't really go into a hospital as an English learner to, of course, just go and practice your English. You need to go in there only if you're working, right? You can't just have random English students going around the hospital and stuff. So it was really quite interesting. But then going back to the talk, I've got hiccups now. Going back to the talk, at the very end of the talk, when it came to the questions and answers, they asked the presenter, how much do one of these sets cost? And she's like, oh, well, if you want the controllers and the headset and everything, you're looking at like $400 to $500. And the whole room just went, ooh. And then people were just like, oh yeah, so that's not very feasible for my class. Like, I teach in a country that definitely can't afford it, blah, blah, blah. I teach at a school that can't afford it. And she's like, oh yeah, I forgot to mention that is just the headset. You will also need a powerful PC to be able to run these programs and games. And the whole room was just like, oh! They were just not happy that these headsets, like, come on, for God's sake, of course they're going to cost money. They're going to cost a lot of money. They're not going to be cheap. Like, if you just think of like a TV and controllers or a PlayStation or something like that, they're easily like a few $100 and a few €100, a few £100. Yeah. It's just so funny how people react to like, oh, oh my goodness me. So yeah, I don't think many people will be doing that anytime soon. And then another talk I went to was by, oh my goodness, I always forget his I always forget his Instagram handle. His name's Sam, I remember that. Pappy English. So Pappy English was also there doing a talk, and I managed to stay to see his talk, and he was talking about how to use social media in the classroom. So could you become a social media teacher? But it wasn't just about using social media as a one-way thing, like how I would create videos on YouTube. So I create videos on YouTube, you watch them, that's it. I do try and make my videos quite interactive. So I will give pauses for listening, repetition. I'll zoom into my mouth. I'll, try and make them as, interactive as I can. But of course, I'm not there. I'm not a teacher who's kind of using the video as a tool. The video itself is the main thing. It's not like I'm the teacher and this is just an additional thing. So it's a different dynamic and a different way of learning, different way of teaching. And he was talking about how we can use videos like YouTube videos and stuff like that in the classroom with our students, and how we can get students to as an example, like get students to imagine that they have their own social media page, and that they are creating posts to upload to that social media page and things like that. So you can create like a classroom Instagram page and only have it so your students can follow that. So it's a private page. Like, let's take Instagram. So you take Instagram, you only add your students to that. So only your students are following you. And they can comment and upload videos. They'll have to send them to the teacher to upload, but anyway, they can use that to upload videos like their classroom social media page. And I thought, oh, that's so cute. That's actually so cool. So yeah, or using it as a way to send homework. and then send it to other students for like peer correction and things like that. And I thought, oh, that's actually a really cool idea. So yeah, that was really interesting. You should go check out his page, Pappy English. And there were some other teachers that I did get to meet there as well. So let me have a think. I'll have to have a look at my Instagram because I don't want to miss anyone off. Because I added a few people. Oh no! Oh, I'm recording my phone, so I can't see. But yeah. So I met Laura from TESOL Pop. She has a podcast about English teaching for English teachers. I thought that was really cool. I wanted to try and interview her, but we ended up both being too busy, so we couldn't do it in the end. I met Marisol from Prawn Tips. She was really, really nice as well. And she was also there as part of the Prawn SIG. So there's the IATEFL pronunciation SIG group who focus just on pronunciation. So she was there with them. And I definitely need to check out the Prawn SIG group a bit more because they focus on pronunciation. And that is my thing. I'm trying to see, because there's a few people, but I can't find I can't find their names. It's not in alphabetical order. That's so bad. Not in alphabetical order. It's not in order of how I follow people. But yeah, I met. I don't remember. I never remember her page. Where is she? Is it like Engly? Claire, what is the name of your page? It's a weird name. Yeah, it's called Engly Insta. Engly Insta. So Engly, like English, but just the ENG, and then LII. ENGLII. Engly _Insta. So I met Claire there with her boyfriend and, with her partner, I should say. And her partner, they were both doing talks, and her partner was doing a talk on how to teach English using memes, which I thought was just so good. So he's just like explaining what is a dank meme to like a group of academics. Oh, it's so good. And then Claire's talk was about how to start a social media page and how to grow on social media. And I didn't get to go to her talk because I was going to some other things and interviews, but it would have been really cool to go to that. Oh, I tell you something. There was one talk, and I just remembered someone else I met as well. Because I met so many people. So if I missed you out, I'm so sorry. I mean absolutely no offense. Claire's actually messaging me now. We've been talking like every day since we finished IATEFL. I just told her that my dog was rolling around in a dead rat's body the other week, and she's like, "Ugh." She's just responding to it. But anyway, yeah, so I ended up going to this one talk with the British Council. Is it Teach English? I can't remember. Hold on. For sure you guys will have seen them. Yeah, so Teaching English British Council. There are two presenters. There's... Oh, I always forget her name. Is it Helen or Karen? Oh, Karen is Karen. I don't know why. She looks like a Helen to me. I want to call her Helen. But yeah, there's Marcus and Karen. And I've known Marcus for many years. We kind of started teaching online pretty much at the same time. And I went the YouTuber route and do my own thing route. And he went I'm going to work with the British Council and do their social media management route. So we're both in social media, but in very, very different things. And I finally met him in person, and I met Karen in person as well. And yeah, they were both lovely, both stressed just like me, because there was so much work for us to do. Like, they were there obviously working. But yeah, they were good to meet as well. And their talk was all about how to create engaging social media content as English teachers. So they were talking about some of their posts that didn't do so well and which ones did well. And we had to analyze and talk about, well, why didn't they do well, blah, blah, blah. And they had quite a few kind of chatty bits. So they would set us off with a task, like set the room off with a task and say, right, talk to the people behind you or next to you about this. And I had someone to the right of me and someone behind me. Well, two people behind me, actually. And, you know, I kind of turned around and I just started talking to them. And despite being absolutely knackered, like I was so dead, I was so tired, I thought, well, I'm still gonna do this. Like, I like social media, I like teaching, so this is my thing. This is perfect. And I like analyzing shit posts and finding out why they didn't do well, why they maybe didn't perform well, what we could change, and so on. I quite like that sort of stuff. And I turned around and started talking to this one guy, and he just stopped and he goes, I've just recognised who you are. And I'm thinking, shit. And it was Richard from Genki English. And I was like, Genki English, I'm so sorry, I've not heard of you before. Like, the name rang a bell. But he said that his content focuses more on teaching young learners, and I don't teach young learners. So that explains why I don't really know him that well and know his content well, because I teach adults, I don't teach young learners. And yeah, he was just like, you should be doing this talk. Like, so yeah, thank you, Richard. It was very nice. And yeah, I ended up seeing Richard quite a bit throughout, like just coming in and out of talks. I ended up like passing him and stuff like that. And yeah, he's just so full of energy. Richard, if you're listening to this, I don't know how you have so much energy. But if anyone teaches young learners, then definitely go and check out Genki English. So Genki as in Genki, Genki, like the Japanese word Genki. Genki English. He's called Richard. He has an Instagram page, but he's got bigger videos, like longer videos on YouTube for English learners, young English learners. So yeah, I ended up meeting him there as well. I'm trying to think, who else? Like any other YouTubers and stuff. I did meet quite a few fans, let's say. I don't like using the term fans because it makes me sound like I'm fucking Beyonce or something like that. But I did meet quite a few people who recognize me. And some of the stewards who were there. So a steward is someone who basically shows people where to go in an event. So maybe you're a bit lost and they'll be there like, oh, can I help you? Where should I go? Oh, you need to go here, blah, blah, blah. Maybe you need to go to the bathroom and they'll show you where to go. Those are the stewards. It's just to basically make sure people are safe. They know where they're going. And it's just a point of help, essentially. So yeah, a few of the stewards also recognize me, apart from some of the teachers and stuff. But yeah, they recognize me. I managed to get a few pictures with them. And I was in the toilet at one point, and I was just looking at myself in the mirror. You know when you're like washing your hands and you're looking in the mirror? And I was just looking at myself thinking, God, I look like shit. I hope no one recognizes me. And then I'm drying my hands. And while I'm drying my hands in the toilet, I just hear this, are you pronunciation with Emma? And I'm like, I look like absolute shit. I'm like sweating, red, disgusting. Yeah, it's just so funny. And yeah, I managed to talk to a few people as well, like a few fans of the channel, fans of the podcast. So if anyone met me there and they're listening to this, then hello. But yeah. Oh, and that was it. And then I met Helen as well. What's Helen's page? Helen Teach. What? Oh no, Helen Teaches Ing. Helen teaches Ing, but I think they don't really have teaching content, if that makes sense, on their page. Like, they don't make teaching content, but they are a teacher themselves. So yes, passionate about language, engagement, learning and empowerment. Me too, Helen, me too. And yeah, I ended up meeting them on Twitter. I was just looking for some victims to interview. And Helen was there, and I was like, Helen, do you fancy doing an interview for the British Council? I just briefly explained who I was and why I'm randomly interviewing people and stuff. And they were like, yeah, cool, yeah, let's do it. So I met them on Friday, a day when I wasn't actually supposed to be working. It was my day off, but I managed to squeeze in one last interview with Helen. So yeah, they were really interesting to talk to, really interesting to meet. And on Friday, there weren't as many talks on. So I was trying to look and see which talks would be the most interesting for me to attend. And luckily, there was one talk on at 11 o'clock in the morning about 10 ways to integrate pronunciation into your lessons more seamlessly. And the presenter talked about different, I think, was his name Graham or Gerard? Oh, Gerard. I don't know where I got fucking Graham from, but anyway. So Gerard, Gerard Erasmus, his name was Gerard Erasmus. Such a cool name. He talked about 10 different activities you can do in the classroom to practice pronunciation. And I was like a little kid watching his talk, like, oh, these are such cool ideas. So yeah, I really enjoyed that as well. And that was the only talk that I really got to go to, that I chose to go to, because I didn't have any other time the rest of the days. I was interviewing people. I was in and out of talks. There was another IELTS talk I went to that was talking about like doing IELTS tests online and things like that. Yeah, more interviews. Let me think. That was it, really. Just a shit ton of interviews, I'll be honest. There's loads and loads of interviews. And just meeting some interesting characters, that's for sure. Very interesting characters. And interesting people. Going to say hi to some of the different stands. Because, yeah, like I write the content for quite a few different pages. Like for IELTS, for Cambridge, for the British Council. And yeah, it was just like, hi there, my name's Emma. I write your social media content. You don't know. So yeah, it was a nice experience. It's something that IATEFL is something that I've always wanted to go to, but it is quite expensive to go. If you want to go, my ticket was £303 for 4 days entry, because 4 days is the maximum. And yeah, I mean 303 is a lot. It's a lot of money. And a lot of the people that were there, I think they were there either as part of companies or they were sponsored or something. But if you were a freelancer who paid that ticket, I hope you got your money's worth. I hope you went to £303 worth of talks, because yeah, it's so expensive. But it's not just a good place to learn about different things related to teaching. It's also just a really, really good place to network with people. Like, I've met people at IATEFL who I'm now friends with and that I now talk to like every day. And I would never have met them otherwise. Never, ever. There are people who, like, in different companies, like I was talking to various companies and saying like, oh yeah, I sometimes do video sponsorships and stuff like that on my own YouTube channel, not just, I don't just do this, I also do this, and talked about my own stuff. They're like, oh yeah, that's amazing. Oh yeah, you should definitely contact us, do sponsorships, and yeah, we've got a product coming out, blah, 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 blah. And so yeah, I was also kind of networking for myself, not just on behalf of my company. So yeah, it was a really good experience. But when I came back, I was really ill, really, really ill. And I was already a week behind on work. So that meant that on the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so this is the week after, as I came back on the Sunday. I was only there for a week, and I came back on the Sunday. Was it Saturday? I came back on the Saturday, actually. I came back on the Saturday. So I was only there for like 5 days. I was only in England for 5 days. Like, that is enough. Going back home. Take me back to Spain. And a lot of people are also asking me if was it weird? How was it going back? Like, were you excited to go back and so on? And part of me was excited to go back, but also not. I wasn't bothered. It was just like, oh, I'm just going back to England. But it wasn't like, oh, I miss England so much. Oh my God, Mama, it's amazing. England's so good, because it's not. England's so shit now. It's so expensive. Like, I was looking in the supermarkets for some things, because of course I wanted to buy some things to take back. Like some chocolates and things that you can't get here. And yeah, the prices of things in supermarkets are ridiculously high. Like, just ridiculous. Going out to eat was ridiculous. It's just so expensive in the UK now. And I live in Barcelona, which is one of the most expensive cities, if not the most expensive city in Spain. So if you think about the prices in Barcelona, and I'm saying, no, England is expensive. Like, just a small town in the north of England is so fucking expensive now. I was in the airport and it was like £4 for a coffee. It's like nearly €5 for a coffee. What the hell? It's so expensive. And it wasn't even good coffee. It's just like shit coffee. Just like from a machine, Just... It's just ridiculous in the UK now. It really is. Luckily, the sun was shining while I was there. And I think it only rained on, like, my last day. Oh, my hair's going everywhere. But yeah, only rained on, like, my last day. And I managed to avoid the rain because I was in the car. So that's all fine. But yes, that is it, I think. Was there anything else I wanted to mention? I have a feeling there was something else. I feel like I was making a point about something and then I went off on a tangent. No, I came back on the Saturday. Oh yeah, that was it. I got really sick. Yeah. So I left on Monday, was working Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday, I went to go see my mum. Saturday, came back to Spain. Sunday, chill. Monday, I started to feel really shit. Really, really tired. Tuesday, felt worse. Wednesday, couldn't speak. Literally lost my voice. Felt awful. So I decided to take the rest of Wednesday afternoon off. Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday, of course, as well. And thank God I did, because, oh my God, I really, really needed that time off. Like, when I'm sick, I still work when I'm sick, because the joys of being self-employed or working for yourself is that you don't get paid sick days, right? If I get pregnant and I need to take maternity time off, I don't get paid for that. If I want to go on holiday, I gotta pay for that myself. If I'm sick, I've gotta pay for that myself. Like, yeah, I have no pension. So you don't get these perks when you're self-employed, unfortunately. Oh, yes, that's that. So I was quite behind on work. I was like 2 weeks behind on work. So the week after, so last week, I was just trying to catch up. But yeah, I took some tests. I took one test on the Wednesday and then another test on the Thursday, and they both said I was negative for COVID. But everyone I was with, well, nearly everyone I was with, had COVID. Like, COVID was definitely going around this event. There were over 3,000 people at this event. So there'd have been someone in there, some dickhead who would have gone with COVID and didn't care, or maybe didn't know, and went and spread it around to everyone, licking the door handles, licking the programs, licking the future of English books and putting them back on the shelves. And spreading the love of COVID. So I'm not sure whether I had COVID or not. According to the test, no, but I did feel like shit. Like, I just had no energy, couldn't breathe, couldn't swallow. And like, I still had an appetite, but I couldn't eat because I couldn't swallow. And as I was swallowing, I couldn't breathe. Like, as I'm chewing, I couldn't breathe as I was chewing my food. So it was just awful. I just felt like absolute shit. But anyway, that's that. So that was the IATEFL thing. And I didn't really get to touch on Max's question that much, but Max's question was, not sure how much AI ChatGPT, for example, interests you. It does interest me. And a lot of the talks, I mean, ones that I've already talked about, but a lot of the talks that I went, that were on at IATEFL talked about technology, the future of English, you know, integrates technology and things like that into its teaching. So it was very interesting for me. But I think it would be pretty interesting to hear you talk about that on your podcast, and also tech in general. I've talked a lot about tech already. So like using, AI, using AI in the classroom. So artificial intelligence, like ChatGPT. A lot of people are using ChatGPT to generate their slides and definitions and things like that. You can use ChatGPT to generate stories in your classes. If you have a certain grammatical point or some vocabulary that you want your students to practice, then you can say to ChatGPT, write a short story using only the past simple, or write a short story using blah, blah, blah words. And it will write a story using those words. It's really good. But yeah, some of the talks were about using ChatGPT. Some of the talks were about using virtual reality. So using VR, like the one I mentioned. And then I talked about Second Life and my research and stuff when I was doing my master's degree. Some also talked a little bit about augmented reality. Now, okay, so there are two different things here. We've got virtual reality, which is 100% generated by a computer, but then you've got augmented reality, which is when you can see the real world, but you can see digital things within that world as well. So a good example of this is the app Pokemon Go. So if you remember with Pokemon Go, you could you could use your phone to look around the room and find Pokemon. So you're looking through the camera at your room, but you can see Pokemon like on your TV, or like a Pikachu on the floor, or a Charmander on your desk, but you see that on the phone. That's augmented reality, where the real world is changed very slightly. So maybe things are just added to it, like little monsters or something, you know. And there were some talks about augmented reality, which I hadn't really thought about before. It's something that I think augmented reality is something not really thought about. Like there's a lot of talk about virtual reality, but not so much about augmented reality, despite it being used a lot around us without us even realizing what it is. When I talked about augmented reality with other people in the past, they've been like, oh no, that sounds too scary, that sounds very invasive. And it's like, yeah, but have you not seen Pokemon Go? Like, people were going fucking apeshit, fucking crazy over Pokemon Go. And no one said, oh, this is going to ruin the world. If anything, it got people out of the house. It got people exploring new areas and things like that. To the point where it's quite dangerous, but we won't talk about that. But yeah, talking about the languages. So going back to Max's email here. So they said, talk about it on your podcast or Honestly Tech in general. Talking about the languages that you want to learn in the future, or a story on how you got started teaching English will probably be interesting to people as well. This, of course, is a different thing, but I definitely have an idea in the future to talk more about how I got into teaching, how I started teaching, and then how I started on social media. I do already have a YouTube video about it. It's quite old, maybe about 3 or 4 years old now, but it is there. And it might be interesting if people can't wait. They can go and watch that video on my YouTube channel, Pronunciation with Emma. But I've received so many questions from people talking about how to get into teaching English and how to find students. I do already have a series with another teacher. I think we have another episode coming out next week, actually. So the other teacher that I talked to in those episodes is Zdeněk, and Zdeněk is an English teacher from the Czech Republic, or Czechia, whichever one you prefer. And he also teaches online. He's got his own podcast as well. He's on Instagram. And I think he did a little bit of YouTube, but it's not his main gig. I think his main thing is podcasting. So yes, you can go and check out those podcast episodes as well, where I talk to Zdeněk and where we talk about different questions regarding how to start teaching English, how to teach English online, how to find students, how to start a course, and so on. We talk about all these different things. But next week, there'll be another episode done with Zdeněk, answering some more questions. So there will be more. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to this. It has been over an hour long. I need a break now before I go and do some work. I made myself a coffee and I didn't finish it. Luckily, I made it cold. I didn't make a hot coffee, but I think I'll just add a few more ice cubes. It's that time of year where you can start having cold coffees. So I'll just add a few ice cubes and then recharge myself and carry on working for the rest of the day. So thank you very much for listening to this podcast episode. I hope you've enjoyed it and enjoyed my ramblings. Thank you to everyone who has sent me emails so far with some topic suggestions. If you'd like to send me any suggestions yourself, even if you've sent ones in the past, you can keep on sending them. I've got many here, so they will keep giving me ideas for the next few years for sure. But the email address is theprocrastinationpod@gmail.com. So theprocrastinationpod@gmail.com. I'll leave it in the description so you can go and email me with your ramblings. Enjoy the rest of your week, guys, and I will see you later. Bye bye.